The Munda Biddi is one of the longest off-road cycling trails in the world. It runs from Perth to Albany in Western Australia and stretches over 1,000 kilometres long. Munda Biddi translates to path through the forest in the indigenous Noongar language and truly lives up to that name, travelling through spectacular bushland and ancient forests throughout the diverse landscapes of southwest Western Australia. Riding the trail end to end is no easy feat, with a high level of fitness and mountain biking experience necessary. I've wanted to conquer the Munda Biddi trail for years, and after walking the adjacent Bibliman track in 2021, my eyes turned to the next big challenge. The only problem? I've never owned a bike before, much less ridden one on any kind of trail. How in the world was I going to ride 1,000 kilometres completely off-road? Luckily for me, my good friend Lauren, an experienced mountain biker and endurance coach, was keen to join me on the adventure. All that was left was a bike. PUSHYS Online came to my rescue and we partnered up for the big ride. PUSHYS is a leading online bike retailer and their support made the ride possible. I spent 4 months training and learning with the new rig and actually started to believe I could ride 1,000 kilometres. Like everything though, I wanted a challenge. So Lauren and I set out a plan to ride the track in just 7 days, around half the time the average rider takes to go end to end. We knew it wasn't going to be easy, but we were up for anything. Turns out we really had no idea how challenging it could really get. This is the Munda Biddi Trail. Alright, we've made it to the northern terminus of the Munda Biddi. Me and Lauren are about to do something stupid. We're going to ride this trail in 7 days. Follow along on the journey. Hopefully we get down to Albany in the next 7 days and it should be a bit of an adventure. Let's do it. Today the plan is we're going to ride to Dandela, which I think is the third hut on the trail. So it should be about 135 kilometers of riding. That should take us around 10 hours, I would say. There's a lot of wet weather forecast for this week. So not only are we going to be riding super long days, but we might be wet for a lot of it as well. Let's ride 1,000 kilometers. Let's do it. We came into our first day on the Munda Biddi, nervous but also really excited. Lauren and I had ridden on our bikes quite a lot over the previous few months, but we had never ridden over 100 kilometers in a day before, and we were about to attempt to do it 7 days in a row. We really had no idea what to expect, and we jumped straight into the deep end, starting before sunrise, battling the cold, spiderwebs across the trail, and even my bike torch malfunctioning within the first 5 kilometers. Eventually the sun rose and we switched right into gear, ready to tackle anything the trail threw at us. Right.
That sounds good.
The first hour or so of day one was mostly downhill, but we knew there was plenty of tough hills coming up as we ventured along the Darling Scarp. We always knew there was an opportunity for a good break every 50 kilometres or so along the track. Munda Biddi camping huts and towns are dotted along the entire route. Nice work. Alrighty, we made it to our first hut of the end-to-ender, Qvarnstrom hut, which, it's about 44 kilometres into our first day. We're gonna just have a bit of a feed, chill out for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna keep rolling. It's been beautiful this morning. Loving it so far. We crossed the halfway point of day one right on schedule, 60 kilometres in about 5 hours. And despite the brutal hills and terrain, we were enjoying every second of the track. Look at this sand. I mean, this gravel, it's so soft. Gotta fight your battles. Gonna walk through this one. We've made it to Wongong Hut, which is not our hut for the night, but it is our second hut on track. We have ridden 80 kilometers today, which is about as far as I've ever ridden before, I've just realized, which is kind of crazy. Going well, bodies are somehow holding up. Maybe we'll actually make it. With our legs fatiguing towards the end of day one, we knew we had one major stopover left at the town of Jarradale. We could grab a bite to eat and rest the legs before our final push to our sleeping hut for the night. Chalky milk, banana milk, surely. Made it to Jarradale. 105 kilometres in. The longest either of us have ever ridden on the trails, and we're doing it on day one of a 7-day ride. We're just smashing some food, and then we've got a couple hours left to our hut for the night. Food. Hopefully that's the top, please. We just walked our bikes up about 170 meters of gain. Jeez.
Yeah.
Incredible. You right? You okay? What happened? Oh, crap.
Oh, I reckon my handlebar just like went in.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh. Okay. Oh, so close.
Oh my gosh, this is incredible.
Oh. You know what? Says that I need 50 hours recovery.
We made it to Dandalup Hut. We completed day one and Loz just stacked it literally 10 meters from the hut. That's 2 stacks today. And the view is incredible. Look at this. It's hard to see on the iPhone. This is insane. Pretty stoked with this. What do we get? 140 Ks today, almost, which is actually a bit longer than we expected, but we wanted to get here in 10 hours and we did. We got here in 10 hours of riding at least, plus a few breaks. So super successful first day. We're gonna pack it in, get all the gear ready, have dinner and set up for a night in. How good. Day 2, it's dark and early. We're packed. We didn't really want to leave our sleeping bags this morning, but we've got 150 Ks today, which is a good hour at least more than yesterday. And should be a long one. We're going through dwelling up in about 40 Ks, which would be nice. We'll get a coffee, something to eat, but we're both a little sore, a little fatigued, as we expected. Onto the trails. We woke up on day 2, sore and tired after a long first day on track. Today would be even longer though, with over 150 kilometers planned and some terrible weather forecasted for the second half of the day. Despite a tough ride ahead, we're excited to be back on the bikes and we're pretty keen to get into the beautiful town of Dwelling Up early on day 2. We're walking up another big hill. We are 20 Ks into day 2. It's been very hilly this morning, but we're nearing Dwelling Up, which is exciting. We got to chill there for a bit and have a feed. We made sure to take advantage of all our town stopovers as they didn't come around very often. A homemade pie and sausage roll was my typical order at the local cafes. Riding through the forest surrounding Dwelling Up was a highlight of the trip, but we were starting to fatigue as we closed in on the halfway point of day 2. We made it to actually our first hut of the day because Dwelling Up was sort of the first stop off, but it wasn't a hut. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name of this hut, but that's it. And we've done, what have we done, like 70 Ks for the day, which is
not even halfway.
It's not even halfway. We're cooked. We are cooked. It's hard work riding the Munda Biddi, it turns out. Lots of hills, lots of soft track, mud, water. It's all happening today, but we're going to keep powering on. Bikes are doing well. Spirits are high, even if the bodies are feeling a bit low. So we're going to chill out for a second. We'll be moving on. With over 80 kilometres left on day 2 and heavy rain forecasted all afternoon, we weren't sure if we were going to make it to our target point for the day. Our spirits remained high, but the truth is our bodies were really feeling it. And with conditions getting worse hour by hour, doubts were starting to creep in.
Do we wait in here for 5, see if it clears a bit? That's heavy rain.
The weather ended up hitting worse than we expected, with a rare autumn storm system sweeping across Western Australia. We battled torrential rain, brutal winds, and even a touch of hail all afternoon. We decided to push on for as long as we could manage and be okay with stopping a little short for the day if we had to.
What in the world is this? This isn't a trail! Bloody jungle! Ow! Oh, you son of a bitch!
We reached Lake Brockman after a bit over 100 kilometres of riding, and despite having plenty of kilometres left to cover for the day, we decided to stop here for the night and recoup. Alright, we made it to camp for tonight. It wasn't necessarily the camp we had planned. So the story goes, we had 150 k's planned today, and we've just ticked over about 100. As you guys saw, we had some terrible weather. Riding underneath lightning for a while there. Very wet. We've gotten to this point and there's nothing in between us here and our hut, which is another 50 kilometers away. And we made the tough decision. Well, it was kind of an easy decision to stay here for the night. We'll have to rejig the plans a bit for our next few days, but that's day 2 done. Like 240 k's total, which is still insane. Pretty sore.
Yeah.
Pretty much everywhere. My butt hurts, my hands hurts, but
not a bad spot.
Not a bad spot. Yeah, we've got a bloody good view.
My butt's already sore.
Day 3 started well before the sun rose, as we wanted to get a head start on the day and make up some kilometres. It had been raining all night, and the forecast had the rain continuing for the entirety of day 3. We didn't have much choice though if we wanted to stay on schedule for a 7-day finish, so we jumped on our bikes and were ready to brave whatever weather was to come.
On to the trails.
We had originally planned to stay at an Airbnb in the town of Nannup on the end of day 3. Lauren's partner Carl was going to meet us at the Airbnb to spend a night together before we headed off again on day 4. Because the previous day ended preemptively, Nannup was now over 200 kilometres away. Our new plan was to just ride as far as we possibly could and get Carl to pick us up wherever we ended up and take us to the Airbnb for the night. Carl would then drop us off the next morning at the same spot. Just stopped in at our first hut on day 3 as the rain started coming down again, so we're going to spend 15 minutes here. Hopefully the rain passes. We got kind of perched up on the side of the hill, and views through the forests is unreal, and the trail goes straight back out this way from the hut. So after our first real break on day 3, the rain continued to worsen and our pace slowed. Large sections of the trail began to flood, and there was absolutely no way to keep any parts of our bodies dry. We were lucky enough to be geared up with aero bike racks and dry bags from PUSHYS online, which kept all our bedding and spare clothes dry, but anything outside of the bags was soaking wet.
Oh, that was deep. Jeez. I was like desperately avoiding puddles at one point. Now it's like, just another one. Oh! That was pretty deep. It looks like someone just picked up a pile of wet mud and threw it at your back. It's not far off what actually happened, to be honest. Oh, what the hell? My foot just filled up with mud. Yikes.
The rain was relentless all day long as we passed the 50, 60 and 70 kilometre marks and entered Wellington National Park east of Collie. Despite the weather not cooperating and our bodies really struggling, riding through these beautiful forests and bushlands was a memorable part of the trip. There's something strangely peaceful and fulfilling about being out in the wild and pushing your bodies to the limits in tough conditions.
Oh, incredible. This is beautiful. Freaking cold, but beautiful. Holy crap. Yum.
After about 5 or 6 hours riding on day 3, we hadn't covered as much distance as we hoped. With nighttime approaching, every kilometre became a struggle. The rains persisted all afternoon, and with the trails steepening, riding became more and more dangerous.
Almost went over there. It's a sharp turn here. Yeah, I'm okay. I couldn't put my foot down. I don't like these switchbacks in the wet. Oh, you've got to be flipping kidding me. What the hell?
After a couple hours of sketchy riding, I noticed that my bike wasn't feeling quite right. Something was loose and I knew we were going to have to stop and check it out.
Alright, we're like almost 100 k's into the day and Lauren's just walking behind me, having bike issues. My pedal and crank is very loose and we've called a few mates who are bike mechanics and it's not great apparently, so we don't have the tools to fix it. Figuring out exactly the plan right now.
We concluded that the bike could hang on for another 10 or 20 kilometres until we could reach an access point and Kyle could pick us up. As if it couldn't get any worse, the rain started to come down harder than it had for the entire ride so far. We eventually made it to a road in the Ferguson Valley and Kyle came to save the day. We made it to the Airbnb and were able to tighten the crank, hoping that it would hold out for the rest of the ride. We fell behind schedule again on day 3 and had a lot of work left to do if we were going to make it to the end in 7 days. Day 4 begun at the same spot that day 3 ended. Kyle dropped us off before the sun rose and we had all our fingers crossed that our bikes and the bodies would hold up for another long day. Lauren and I had discussed the night before about the possibility of still riding the end to end in 7 days. After a brutal previous 2 days where the weather put us well behind schedule, we decided that adding an 8th day to the ride was the smartest option. Day 4 started off pretty cruisy besides a couple of shoe issues for Lauren, and we had 30 k's of mostly road riding before we hit the town of Donnybrook.
Donnybrook.
I had ridden the next 50 kilometres or so of trail on a training ride about a month prior. I remember this section of track being quite rideable, and with better weather forecast for today, I knew we could make up some good time.
Alrighty, we just crossed over the 50 kilometre mark for day 4. We're making really good time today, which is good because we've got a lot of ground to make up from the last couple of days. We enjoyed a nice coffee and a little break in Donnybrook. Now we're on our way to Jarrawood, which will be our next stop. So we're getting there, we're getting there. Bumpy?
Yeah, my bum is so sore.
Yeah, mine's killing me. I'll tell you what, I expected my legs to be sore, which they are, very sore, but my biggest struggle has been my hands. They've been really, really painful. Gripping the bike for this long every day, I guess, has bruised them up a bit, so my hands and my butt are kind of the sorest parts of my body at the moment.
The rain has started. No. Not nice.
Nice to put my rain jacket on, but I can't be bothered.
Made it into Nolamia Hut, which is our first hut stopper for the day, and this is the one that I stayed at on my first test run on the Munda Biddi a few weeks ago. We're about 71 k's in for the day. The weather's been mostly good. We had a bit of rain just before. Stoked to have a bit of a break here, and then we're on to Nanup, which will be our next stop.
Despite the rain falling sporadically throughout the afternoon, the trail into Nanup was quite easy to ride. We had a long but only slight uphill to the highest point in the area before a smooth downhill all the way into town.
We're on our way down to Nanup now, and this downhill is epic. So beautiful through here, and the trail is mint. Just arrived into Nanup, and there's like a hygiene station, but we're gonna just get all the dirt off our bike. They were filthy, and now they're slightly cleaner, which actually might help with performance, to be honest, because our gears, our brakes, everything was pretty clogged up with mud. Oh, bakery.
We're in Nanup. We're pretty much like next door to the house.
After a quick pie and sausage roll in Nanup, we headed out onto the infamous Nanup Hill.
Hello. We're just climbing up the mother of all hills up Nanup. It's like a 20-kilometer incline that we heard so much about. Nothing good, but it's been absolutely beautiful. We've just been like riding in between all these farms with green pastures. There's been heavy rains the last couple of days, as you guys know, and there's streams and waterfalls just flowing everywhere. So it's a tough climb, but it is absolutely stunning. And we're about 20 or so kilometers from Donnelly River Village. I think we'll make it.
As the sun set on day 4, we were closing in to Donnelly River Village, our finishing point for the day. A good friend of ours, Shannon, had driven down after work to meet us at Donnelly River Village, so we were excited to get into town and have a good feed.
Ow.
Of course, as darkness set in, my torch malfunctioned and the rain started coming down, just to make the end of day 4 a little bit tougher.
Started raining. We're almost at the village. Come on. We are so close.
We made it into Donnelly River Village. It was dark and wet on the way in, but we did it. And we've actually got a little dorm room, which is nice. How you feeling, Loz?
Good.
Feeling good?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Warm and dry. We're gonna settle in. Yeah, first time we finished after dark on the bike, so it's a bit late. We've got to have a feed and then try and get 8 hours plus before we head back out, probably in the dark again tomorrow morning. And we're actually about halfway through the ride now, technically. I think we're about 480 k's in, so tomorrow morning the aim is Pemberton. It's another long day. See you then.
The Munda Biddi had certainly lived up to expectations so far. It had been both brutal and beautiful, both challenging and spectacular. We weren't really sure what to expect on the second half of the ride. All we knew was that it was going to be an adventure to remember.
Ah, careful. Stop. Almost took my head off. Probably the hilliest section of track we've had so far on the entire end to end. We made it to the ocean. It feels so good. Oh, like 100 meters away. Oh my gosh.